Good afternoon, sisters and brothers. Welcome to AFSCME New Jersey's series of Facebook Live conversations. Today we have the Democratic candidate in the 2nd Congressional District, Amy Kennedy, with us. We're going to be talking with her about the issues and about her election. Before we begin, as we give folks a few minutes to get on the call, I want to start first by saying thank you to all of the members out there who are working out every day to make sure that you're holding your communities together, that you're taking care of patients, that you're providing the services that the people of New Jersey rely on each and every day. During this entire pandemic, as I've said many times, I think we found out very, very quickly who is essential and who is not. And the public employees and healthcare employees and regular everyday folks, grocery workers, we found out very quickly just how essential you are to our economy and to the people of our state. So on behalf of the executive board and officers of AFSCME New Jersey, Council 63, I want to say thank you for all that you do. So welcome, Amy. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much. And I couldn't agree more. I just really can't express my gratitude for all the work that your members have continued to do during this time. And we know that we need a whole lot more support for your members, but also that we also need to be thinking about how we can keep the energy and encouragement up for those people who have been working straight through this time. Unbelievable sacrifice.
Yeah, it is just amazing the work that they've done. Everyday people doing extraordinary things, and we live in a time right now where it's hard to get discouraged. It's easy to feel the pressure and all of those things, but everyday folks keep doing extraordinary things. So so we appreciate that. So why don't you tell our members a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your campaign? Give us a couple updates.
Sure. So Amy Kennedy, I am from Atlanta County. I actually grew up in Atlanta County, right down the street from my grandparents and my great-grandparents. My family's been in Atlanta County for 4 generations. My mom and dad were both school teachers, and of course I followed in their footsteps, and I became a middle school teacher also. I taught history at the Mill Road School in Northfield and really loved teaching there, but I have transitioned into advocating for mental health because I really saw a need for that when I was in the classroom. And of course, having my own 5 kids, we know that the statistics are that 1 in 5 people will struggle with a mental health challenge or substance use disorder. And it really hits home when you think about your own kids in that kind of setting and the services that are not easily available right now. So knowing those statistics, we know we can do better for our families. And so I've been focused on that and how we can do more in our schools to offer prevention and early intervention. And then I decided to run for office really at the frustration that I've had since the 2016 election, but then more focused on when I saw Jeff Andrews switch parties. And it was the pledging the undying loyalty to Donald Trump that I felt like, we deserve more. We deserve more here. We need somebody who's just going to look out for and represent the voices of South Jersey.
Yeah, without a doubt. He certainly somebody who got elected with the help of working people and union brothers and sisters, and then just did a complete 180. That was quite a shock and quite a betrayal, quite frankly, on our behalf. So I was wondering if you could just tell our members a little bit about the 2nd District and where it is, because the 2nd District, I think Atlanta, Cape May, parts of Cumberland, and then I took a look at it again today and I went, wow, that is a big piece of geography. That's a big district.
It is a big district, the biggest in New Jersey. And I am, putting the map of it on our t-shirts. So if you get an Amy Kennedy for Congress shirt, you'll see it's almost heart-shaped in a way. But it's Atlantic County, of course, where I live, and that's a big chunk of the district, about 40% of the district there. But it's also Cape May County and a little bit of Ocean County. So it goes up to LBI, and then it goes west, and we've got Cumberland County and Salem County and part of Gloucester and a piece of Burlington, a piece of Camden. So there's actually 8 counties. I think I said them all. And, we're spending our time over the next several weeks and the past weeks just visiting each county and making sure we're talking to people there. We're talking to small business owners in every county. So last weekend we were in Cumberland County. We had the opportunity to visit small businesses, but also places like Hope Loft, which are providing so many services in the community, and a place where they're handing out meals every day at one of the local churches. And we had lunch, and my kids have been coming along, and we're doing visibility stops in those counties when we get out there. So we'd love to see some of you join us if you're able to this weekend. Tomorrow we're going to go to Burlington County and then to Camden, because those are just smaller pieces of the district. So we want to make sure that they feel like they've got representation too. And just because they're the smaller pieces, that they still get to see their representatives.
Absolutely. And that's, you bring up an interesting point where you say that there are community programs right now that people are relying on. The COVID-19 has taken a tremendous toll, not only as far as health issues, but also economically, mentally. What kind of impact has the COVID-19 had on the people of the second district in particular?
Oh, Steve, I mean, you couldn't be more right. It's having in every aspect. So we know, of course, the healthcare toll that it's taking. We're seeing the numbers every day. And we know that we're relatively lucky compared to other parts of the country. And our outbreak numbers are much smaller in the second district than they were in other areas, even within our own state, but certainly with other places right now in the country. So we are lucky, but we know too that it's really impacted our economy, and people are struggling. I've been to lots of the food distributions where Unite Here has been doing food distributions at Bader Field in Atlantic City, and they all have 3,000 cars in one Saturday, and they're doing that every 2 weeks. But then there's a lot of smaller food distributions happening around the district, and people have stepped up, but it's gone on for quite a long time. And now with unemployment benefits running out, with the employer healthcare running out, it's getting desperate. And so we're hearing those conversations. We also know many of the small businesses that didn't get the PPP loans, or maybe did, but it just wasn't enough. And then the mental health piece that you talk about is of particular concern for me, because that's something that we don't hear about as often. We're hearing about those other pieces, the financial toll, people not being able to pay their rent that's due. But we know that the mental health and substance use piece is going to be equally devastating, because it doesn't just happen today. When, for example, at the recession several years ago, the biggest toll on mental health wasn't even felt until 3 years later. People can hold out hope for a while, but it eventually weighs on them, the economic burden, the anxiety, and the stress. And that's when we start to see all of that unravel. And it's been really trying, especially with the isolation. So now that people are going back to work, and they also are trying to teach their kids from home, in some cases, that's what we're doing here at my house in Brigantine. Everybody's learning remotely. My kids go to the public school here. I have 4 of them in the school. And so it's, challenging for families where the parents are expected to return to work, but their kids are home. I'm luckily doing a lot of what I'm trying to do for the campaign in just this format on Zoom. So I can be at home, but that's not the case for a lot of families. And not only is it challenging because their childcare may not be available, but also having access to broadband and a device that they can use that's reliable. Those are all pieces that are just adding to the frustration during this time.
Yeah, and I think that, matter of fact, I think you're right on point with that. In fact, we take questions from the members, and they type them in. And the question I was going to ask you before you answered the question was, Lee had a question about any advice for coping with being parents and virtual schooling kids during the pandemic. As a mom of 5 and a teacher yourself. Do you have any?
It's overwhelming for me too, because we're getting updates and emails and different links to follow and just keeping track of the calendar. And, I think the most important thing to remember is that this is not typical times. These are unusual times. And so you can't put the same expectations on yourself or your kids, really. And you have to be easy on yourself and know that the most important thing for your kids are they safe and do they feel loved? They will get the education that they need. They will get caught up. That is not the most important piece right now. Making sure that they're safe, that they're feeling cared for, and that they have all the essentials that they need. And then that outreach and the school and the academic piece, that's going to happen. We'll get there. That can be made up, but you can't replace those other things. And parents that are trying to do it all, just know that all the challenges that you might be having, other families are too. And, unfortunately, this period of time for our kids is just going to be a hard one. And we're going to make sure that when our kids go back to school, that we're doubling down on the support that they'll have. And that's where we'll have to get it. So, yeah. and having headphones, because in my house, on a practical level, we are having 6 different devices going, and they're all really loud. So we've got my daughter with Spanish class, my husband might be on a Zoom, my son might be doing something with biology, and then our pre-K daughter is listening to a music dancing around class, and it sounds like just chaos here.
There's a lot going on there.
Absolutely.
And the whole pandemic itself, it's just put such a strain on everyone. It's put a strain on families. It's put a strain on education. It's also put a strain on public services. A lot of our members, work in healthcare, whether they work in nursing homes, some work in veterans homes, psychiatric facilities, developmental centers. And, the pandemic, the brunt of the pandemic really fell on frontline workers in the very beginning. And it's really had such an impact on the ability to deliver the services that people rely on.
Yeah.
And go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I just, you just laid it out. Your members were in all of the crucial places that have just been hardest hit, but that are so needed. And, I know when I had talked to you before about this, I conveyed my own family's experience with my grandmom and how important that care that your members were the people that just really made sure that she felt like her life was valued in kind of that really tough period of time. And that's how so many people across the country have been feeling right now. You've been the family that's been there when their maybe blood relatives weren't able to be by their side. And that's just, there's no amount of money that can calculate how important that is, that service, that caring. And, just really grateful for everybody that's on and watching tonight.
Well, we appreciate that. And that's, we especially appreciate you saying it as a public figure and as a candidate, because the members and the workers don't always hear those things either from elected officials or from their own bosses sometimes. And just having someone say they appreciate the work that they do really means a lot, I know, to our members. Which, part of the issues that are going on right now with the pandemic, there's been a lot of federal legislation that has either passed or been talked about. I think one of the things was the CARES Act, obviously, and then which was passed, but then we had the HEROES Act, which your opponent opposed. If you could talk just a little bit about the HEROES Act, why it's important, and what role you see Congress having in helping through this difficult period of time in preserving public services and helping all people, families, everybody get through this time.
Yeah, I think, that HEROES Act is so important, and we know we need to get something that's going to pass, but without the investment that we're going to make in our first responders, we're not going to have the stability in our economy to keep things going. People who have been putting their life on the line, who have been risking their families' well-being just to show up to work every day, deserve to be taken care of as well. And we can't forget that. And I think that that's why right now is the moment, because we know how short-term people's memories are, and that, months from now, it's too late to really take these actions. We need to make sure that we're supporting all of our frontline workers right away while they need the help. And, knowing that all of the expenses that are happening in our country right now, whether it's childcare or just the cost of groceries, have been higher during this time. And yet those that have been working throughout this time did not see that extra stimulus, did not get that necessary help to cover those costs, even though they maybe were incurring more expenses than they normally would during the typical year. And so, it's going to be important that we support our state and local governments going forward to ensure those jobs are still there, but also that we're taking care of all our frontline workers. And so I'm hopeful that, I know that they're in talks again and that we'll be able to get some of these dollars moving, but I know it's something that I will prioritize and I care about, but I hope it's not going to take until January for us to see the necessary investment.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that, because people are struggling right now. And in fact, the funny thing about a pandemic and a public health crisis is it doesn't just strike Democrats or Republicans or independents, it hits everybody. And regardless of, somebody's personal beliefs or political affiliation, everybody is feeling the impact of this. In fact, one of the things I think that was in the HEROES Act was aid to state and local governments. Okay. And, it doesn't make a difference whether it's a Republican-controlled, Democrat-controlled, everybody is feeling the pinch right now.
That's right. And there's so much that we're going to need to be able to recover from this, but it's not going to happen if we don't have that investment in our state and local government. So why we would have any representative that's not trying to bring those dollars back to their area, it just doesn't make sense to me. You need to be fighting for every dollar reinvested in South Jersey possible. And it needs to be not only in supporting the state and local government, but we need to look for new dollars that we can bring in infrastructure investment that's going to help people as they try and get to work, whether it's our buses and trains or our roads and bridges, whether it's that investment in broadband that I mentioned earlier. We have to get those dollars back here to kind of kickstart our economy again following this pandemic, and also trying to move us forward in a way that is going to benefit us long term. So infrastructure projects that might help with things like climate resilience and making sure that we're doing what we can for the flooding that we're experiencing all the time. I can't imagine right now what they're feeling in California, where they're facing such an impact from climate change at the same time they're dealing with the pandemic and this crisis. And I know I do not want to see New Jersey in that position where maybe it's not wildfires, but we know that the impact of hurricanes and flooding, even just when it rains, is getting worse every year.
There, the long-term investments that need to be made, the short-term bridges that need to be built to get us through this pandemic. I mean, all of this is contingent upon who we elect to Congress. I mean, I don't think the choice has ever been clearer. And I just want to read a question. It actually came up more as a statement, but I think it's very, very relevant, particularly with who our president is right now and the Supreme Court opening that's here now. And Joe Mack said, "I lost my job due to COVID. Our COBRA is $1,895 a month. My wife is battling stage 4 lung cancer." And then he discusses how expensive that the coverage is. And he only has a certain amount, several months of savings that could get him through this. And then he's broke, he and his family. And I think, so with the attacks on the Affordable Care Act coming from the administration and a case that goes before the Supreme Court, if you could just talk a little bit about the healthcare crisis, toward Joe's question, and just tell us what your thoughts are with respect to that.
Yeah. First, Joe, I'm so sorry about, this is just an unbelievable time for everybody, but I can't imagine how much harder it is for you at this time, caring for your wife, and just, you're in my prayers. I'm going to hope for her recovery, but I'm also going to work for you and your wife to make sure that there's access to affordable health care, because we know that this isn't a position that you or anybody else should be in. It's impossible to pay that kind of price for health care. And we know that we need to make sure that we're protecting people with pre-existing conditions, which will be under attack, I believe regardless of what this president is saying right now, that we need to be very cautious, because I do think that he will undercut that, and making sure that we not only protect the Affordable Care Act, but that we're able to expand it, because we know it's not perfect. We know that we need more people to be covered. We need them to be able to be covered with high quality care at a lower price. So we've got to expand that coverage, and we need to be able to lower our prescription drug prices, and to make sure that in the meantime, Joe, that you're going to have an extension on your unemployment so that you can get through these next few months.
Right. And thank you for the question, Joe. And, we're praying for you and your family, and please stay strong. So, I mean, all of these issues, it seems as though there is no middle ground on a lot of these issues. And the choice is very, very stark right now. It seems to us that there is, when you talk with Democratic candidates like yourself, you're talking about healthcare, investments in infrastructure. You're talking about protecting public services and all of these things that affect, and by the way, a coherent pandemic response.
Yeah.
And it seems that the Republicans are not talking about the same things. And I just, as far as the whole pandemic is concerned, what sort of role do you think you could play and Congress could play at least in January, hopefully sooner?
Yeah, it's, it is so polarized right now, as you said, and it's concerning to think that we could be so far off on even what we believe is important at this moment, when it seems so clear what things are important to people. No matter who we talk to, we're talking about healthcare. Everywhere we go, we're talking about healthcare, and we're talking about jobs and how we can bring back more jobs, how we can bring back jobs that are high paying jobs, so that you can have a secure retirement. Because, frankly, it's not enough to just have jobs that people need to have 2 or 3, right? We want to be able to get women back into the workforce who have been laid off at even higher numbers. We know we need affordable childcare so that when they do return to work, that they're able to, make sense of it, that they're not spending more on childcare than they're bringing home at the end of the day. And these are the issues that matter to families. And so when I'm thinking about South Jersey and what concerns I have for this area, I think it's really focusing on diversifying our economy. I am very South Jersey centric. Here's what I want to see for our area, because that's where I think I can deliver. I want to be able to represent our interests. And I know that there's a lot that has to happen on the national stage, but we need help here and we need it now. And that's going to be bringing in those jobs. It's going to be making sure that we change our tax code so that people who are struggling right now just to stay afloat are not the ones that are paying the heavy price, that, we're looking at those big corporations who have gotten breaks from this administration and making sure that they're paying their fair share as well. And that when we make investments here, that it's for good paying jobs and that it's going to provide better access to education at a better price, and that people are able to do that locally. That's what I want to see, because people are, frankly, they're looking for any relief they can, but it seems like it's a series of just, patches instead of a real plan of how we move forward.
Right.
And, we need more.
Yeah, and I think as we said a couple of times, that the choices and the values seem to be clearer than they ever have been, which brings me to a question I had, that this election is going to be unlike any other that we have ever had in our lifetimes, and ballots are going to be hitting the mail, and in some cases they already have. And you being in the second district with, I believe it's 8 counties, you said?
Yeah.
So if you could talk a little bit about the election process and the campaign, and we'll have a little conversation about how to vote and the best way to vote for our members.
Oh, thank you. That's, it's so important, because even in circles where people are really active, we're hearing a lot of misinformation, and there's still that confusion, I think, that people think that they're going to go on election day and vote on a machine. And that's just simply not happening in this pandemic. It is a paper ballot, no matter when you fill it out. So whether you do it at home or whether you show up on the day on November 3rd, it's going to be a paper ballot. And I'm going to be filling mine out and using one of the multiple secure drop boxes in our county. Every county has a minimum of 10, and they're named, and the locations are all on the website for the Board of Elections. And so I'm trying to encourage people to make a plan and to submit their vote early, because we know that it's going to make a difference. The early returns will help to lessen the burden and make sure that people's votes can be tracked, meaning you can track your own, not others, but you can track your own ballot and know that it arrives safely. And you can do that online. So it'll be important for you, once you decide on your plan for voting, that you check your registration. And you can do that right on the state site. And you can make sure that you are still registered. We've heard stories in other places where people have been kind of booted off the register list. But you can check that. You can make sure that you're going to receive a ballot. And then once you get it, you can either fill it out and put it back in the mail, or you can fill it out and put it in the secure drop box, or you can fill it out and you can return it directly to someone at the Board of Elections. Or you can go the day of and fill out a provisional ballot. But it's definitely unusual times. It's made for a lot of phone banking, which has been really key for us. We use that in the primary. And just for those of you that are concerned about the process, I do want to reassure you by saying, in this primary, we use the same system, and we had a 50% higher than ever in the history of district turnout. So we should all feel good about that when people were able to vote from home, they did. It was easy. They did it. You just want to know the steps and make sure that your friends also know. And it'll be a simple, I've been voting this way for several years, and it's really an easy process. Just make sure that everybody around you knows what to do.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important point, that not only is it easier to vote than ever, it's also easier to register to vote than ever, right?
Yes, you can do that online. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I do just want to piggyback on one of the things that you said from my own personal experience. My whole life, I have voted in person. This year for the primary, I got the mail ballot, and I looked at it and I went, oh, okay, I got to remember to fill that out. And I put it on my kitchen table, and for about 3 weeks straight, every day I went, oh, I got to remember to send that back. I got to remember to fill it out. And then, it got to be 3 days before the election, and I went, I got to do this like right now. And I filled it out and rushed to the post office. But, the thing that we've been telling our members is that you should fill out your ballot as soon as possible. When you get the ballot, fill it out. And we've been recommending the ballot boxes, the drop boxes as well.
Yes. And you know what else is interesting that I think we're going to see an unintended benefit, regardless, Republican or Democrat, is that what typically happens with the machines are people will vote the top of the ticket and leave the rest blank. But I think when people have an opportunity to spend a little more time with the ballot and look up some of the other candidates, maybe you're not really familiar with surrogate or with sheriff or with freeholder candidates. This gives you a chance to look at their website, to learn more about them, to ask, and then fill it out. And I'm hopeful that people will fill out the whole ballot and not leave blanks, and make sure that they've really, because we know somebody's going to win. So make sure that you put in your 2 cents and that you're filling out the entire ballot. What happens when it arrives, you don't rip anything off. You leave the flaps on, you fill it out, and when they get it, they separate the name off of it, and that's how they know it's been received. But then it becomes anonymous, and then it is counted later. But for everyone that's watching, there's a real simple few steps that they list on there, but we're also going to have a hotline on our website at amykennedyforcongress.com. We'll have a phone hotline. The number will be on there. You can call. We're going to try and have people that'll be able to answer your simple questions or direct you to where you can get a good answer if we don't have it for you. So amykennedyforcongress.com. We'll have the steps. I'm going to try to put together a video. We'll have the steps in different languages, as well as a hotline that you can call.
Yeah, that I think is so important, because we've done that to some extent with our membership. We've done a lot of voter education, including me telling the story for about the 10th time that our viewers have heard about how my ballot sat on the kitchen table, and the lesson is get the ballot in.
Get it in.
Later. And there is no difference, whether you go to the polling place and vote by paper or you put it in the mail, it's the same ballot. Isn't that correct?
Right. Well, the provisional ballots are counted later. So the ones that are sent in will be the first to be counted, because they have to check to see if you submitted a second one. So you can bring your original ballot, and that's okay. But the provisional ballots that you would fill out at the polling place are counted kind of second, because they have to make sure you didn't vote 2 times. And the reason they don't have the the machines is simply because they need to be able to check that it's not happening twice, and we don't have those electronic record books in New Jersey.
Right, and that voting provisionally is actually a safeguard against voter fraud.
That's right.
In fact, if I'm not mistaken, New Jersey has one of the toughest penalties if someone engages in voter fraud. So I think it's a lot safer, and the steps have been taken to make sure that it's safe.
That's right. Yeah, we're in good shape in New Jersey. I don't want people to feel concerned. Like I said, we had a great turnout in the primary, and we're going to see that again. It's just letting people know in advance and doing all those PSAs so that everybody has gotten the word not to wait until November 3rd.
Yeah, absolutely.
Elections today, in Ocean County, there's ballots that are already back. So, a lot have been returned already. Everybody in Ocean County, for the most part, has their ballot, and we know the ballots are going out in the rest of the district in the next week. So
that's interesting, because it really has changed the whole campaign dynamic, because traditionally, right, you figured mid-October you start, you're doing turnout the whole time, but
it's now,
ballot. Yeah. So it's a whole new operation, and you have people who've already voted. They're coming back. So now on the locations, with the ballot, the drop boxes, where would people be able to find that information, particularly those in the 2nd district?
Yeah, it's on the State Board of Elections site, and I'm sure we're going to post it on my website as well. There's 10, but there's almost, I am pretty certain it's almost at all municipal buildings. So in every town, they'll have it at their city hall.
Right. And I know that there's a minimum of 10 per county. I remember from the legislation. Most towns are doing, or counties are doing much more than that.
Yeah.
Which is good.
And they go straight from there to kind of the Board of Elections to the county clerk's office. So they don't go in the box and then into the mail. It's like a direct, which is why we all are thinking that way, thinking that that's my plan. Yeah.
No, I was going to say that's mine too, and it's actually the most secure way, because we did some research. The concern with the post office, the concern with the post office, I think, is not the postal workers, certainly.
No.
Postal workers are out there doing their job. It is the policies from the top, and the concern, will my ballot get there? So we've been encouraging people to use the drop boxes.
Absolutely. Thanks for saying that. Absolutely. It's no concern that they're not working hard or trying to deliver the absolute best results. I think they will, and I think that it's going to be everything will be fine, but I know if I can lessen the burden a little bit, that's my plan. It's just one less. I know it's going to be a very busy time for the postal system, and so this is just my way of simplifying.
Yeah, and having a plan to vote, very, very important. I did want to ask you, before we go, Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away.
Yeah.
She's an American treasure.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about Ruth Bader Ginsburg and the whole, just her in general?
Oh my gosh. Well, I didn't tell anybody this story yet, but I had a chance. I met her once, which is really cool. I met her, and the funniest part was I met her at the Kennedy Center. So we went to see a play at the musical at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. And she was there, and, she had dainty little gloves on, but the show we went to see, I thought we were going to see Hairspray. We actually were going to see Hair. So it's that show where everybody gets naked in the show. Do you know the one I mean? Age of Aquarius. Yes. So there we are, and Justice Ginsburg is there, and she's dressed, she's got the beautiful necklace and the dainty gloves, and the guy is down the aisle, and it was just so funny, the contrast of being there with her and what we were watching. But, she just was, I think, young and filled with spirit and life to the very last minute, to her last breath, and fighting for equality in this country. And it just is remarkable. Everybody was rooting for her, and to be able to see her doing the workouts and still talking about justice in this country, and really being what we all hope to embody. But knowing that it's all of our responsibility to continue that work and that effort, and that we each have a part to play in it. I think that's what I'll take from it. And, her message about more women in leadership roles, I think, is resonating with me right now. And I'm hopeful to be the first woman that would have this seat. So we haven't had a woman represent CD2 yet. But I think that it's not just the idea of being able to have a woman in this seat, but just being able to bring some of my experience and that perspective. And that's why it's important to, have different voices in Congress, and make sure that you're able to keep pushing for the things that we talked about on this Zoom, things that like education and childcare, and some of those obviously healthcare and reproductive rights that are challenges facing so many women and their families today.
Yeah, I mean, she certainly was a trailblazer, and was fighting for equality for women and respect for women in the workplace long before it was fashionable, long before other people were paying attention. And certainly with you in your election, we will do all we can with AFSCME. We want you to become the first woman congresswoman from the 2nd District. It's really an exciting time, and it's a great opportunity, I think, and you're just a great candidate. So.
Oh, thank you so much. I just really appreciate the support and your engagement. Everybody that's on tonight, I know you have worked long hours. You have so many other demands on your time, your family. It's a Friday night, and here you are because you really care about the fate of our country. You care about our community, and you're working hard every day to make that happen. So I'm really grateful that you're all engaged and pushing. I just want to tell you there's still only 39 more days, and every day counts for me. And I hope that we can all sustain this energy to just put it over the top and make sure that we're headed in the direction of a better future, because we know this is really a tough time in, I think, our country, and we've got to do this.
I'm just looking at the comments because we have a lot of people who are saying we're with you, Amy. We have your back end. Awal Al Hassan, who is our co-chair of our political action committee, says he'll buy you a cup of coffee if you beat Jeff Van Drew. So
I need it before then. I need the coffee now. Oh my gosh!
You might need like a double shot of espresso with
that's
with the
it.
hours you're putting in. But we thank you so much. This has been a great conversation. Please know I speak on behalf of the members of AFSCME throughout the entire state, but in particular in the 2nd District, and saying that we stand with you. We will do all that we can to help you get elected. Your values are our values, and we really appreciate you spending some time with us tonight.
Thank you so much. I hope you all have a great weekend, and I'll look forward to being with you in person as soon as we're able to.
Absolutely. Thanks again. And thank you, everybody, for listening tonight. Remember to go to amykennedyforcongress.com, and we will be out there doing walks and phone banking and all kinds of things to support Amy. And of course, next week we'll continue our conversations with congressional candidates when we have Congressman Tom Malinowski on September 30th. So thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, everybody, and good night.
Good night.